Hey, you, welcome back. It's Jyoti. Kya chal raha hai? What's happening? Somebody sent me this video yesterday and I was like, interesting. Is something we should talk about because a lot of it has been happening kabhi last year, abhi recently, Holi ka time, ya Basant Panchami, like random different moments in time where suddenly you hear something and you're like, what? Since when is this your culture? You know, like those kind of events have happened. And I've always been like, I've just shrugged it off and just whatever. And then recently I saw this lady, Seema ji. I think that's her name. Hold on. And I saw that she was arrested and treated badly and all of that. And again, I was like, yeah, it popped up in my feed, but it's none of my business and I'm not gonna really like talk about it or anything. But then I saw this video that popped up today. Sheema Kermani. Yes, she was the lady in Pasuri who was doing the Indian classical dance and that opening section of the video. So I opened this video because it popped up in my feed and it said ki, she's talking about the dancing girl, the statue, which is one of the oldest statues ever found. But anyway, I clicked on it and I saw what she had said and I was very like, I'm sorry, but you've learned Odissi. And that dance form is basically devotion to Lord Jagannath. And even Kathak is devotion to Lord Krishna. Everything you dance to in that is devotion, it's bhakti. And every other dance form, Bharatnatyam, anything that is a classical dance form or a classical music form, it's all in offering to the gods. It's all an offering to our deities and to Ma Saraswati. So if you've come to India and you've learned that art form, very good. We're happy for you. But if you go back and start trying to claim it as something it's not, because that's what she was doing in that video, I'm sorry, but that's just like it's the worst way a student can be when you've learned. Like, I will not go to Japan and learn the the art of samurai and then come back and say, oh, it's an Asian art form, or it's like, give it some other name. So anyway, I feel there is a lot of this happening, a lot of Indian civilizational things and cultural things and heritage things and religious things are being what's the word, appropriated maybe, or adopted and then given another name. The West is trying to do that with yoga and all our breathing exercises and pranayams and all of that is happening, but our neighbor is trying to do that and it's just so dumb. I can't get over it. Like, it's Hindustani classical music, it's from India. It didn't just get invented in 1947 in your country. It is all the culture and heritage is all Indian culture and heritage. If anything was invented fresh, like there was a music instrument that was invented fresh in the 70s in Pakistan. I talked about it in one of my reels when I used to cover their art. But those things you can claim as your own, but don't try to claim like you can practice those things because they're from that land, but that land when those things were born was not Pakistan. It's not Pakistani. Okay, your country is 78 years old. This culture and heritage is 5,000 years old, and it's all Indian, Bharatiya. So anyway, I was sent this link and I was like, let's watch it because Sham Sharma, the way he says things in his way, I'm very curious to know what he said about this particular topic, how Pakistan digested Indian culture. And again, I want to say this for all the haters who will come at me from the neighboring side. I'm not, and we are not obsessed with your country, but we wish that you would stop annoying us and attacking us and all of that. I mean, this week only, they've got 9 terrorists this week from Delhi and Bombay, and there was another guy in another city they caught who was living for 17 years, I think in Odisha somewhere. I just saw it this morning in the news, with ISI handlers and plotting another attack. So these guys had recce places in Delhi and Bombay already, and they caught these 2 of them, I think, with hand grenades and 2 Glock pistols. So the attacks are not going to stop, and we are stopping them in time before they happen. But the planning, the plotting, the attacking is just not stopping. And then y'all, so anyway, we need to talk about this because it's getting too annoying now. Chalo, 1, 2, 3, play.
We all know that Indian person who hates American imperialism and capitalism but exclusively watches American shows. They know the lines from The Office better than they know the Indian national anthem. That's kind of what Pakistan is as a country. Some time ago, the most important man in Pakistan, Asim Munir, said that they are completely different from Hindus.
Well, our forefathers, they thought that
And then they
we
attacked.
are different from the Hindus in every possible aspect of life.
के ग़ज़वा हिंद के बारे में भी लिखा गया, वे अटक कर दरिया में
Then why are you having Sangeet?
और अफगानिस्तान
Why are you having Varmalas?
ये सारी पेशेंट गोई उन्होंने की, लेकिन उसके बाद शुमाल मशरिक से फौजी उठेंगी, 60 टोलियों में से लोग आएंगे उज़्बेकिस्तान से। ये खुरासान की बात की है। खुरासान यहाँ लाहौर तक बनता था, पुराना खुरासान।
ये तो पढ़ना चाहिए लोग।
हाँ, तो फिर वहाँ से शुमाल मशरिक होएगी, शुमाल मशरिक फौजी निकलेंगे, तब आप वो कश्मीर फतह करेंगे, उसके बाद इंशाल्लाह आगे चलेंगे।
Such hilarious dreams.
तरीके से aggressiveness भी थी, जिस तरीके, और सबसे अच्छी बात जो रिजवान ने की कि फिर उसने माशाल्लाह उसने ग्राउंड में खड़े होकर नमाज पढ़ी, जो कि हिंदुओं के बीच में खड़े होकर, so that was really something very, very special for me.
So they say stuff like this, but then they rename Islampura to Krishan Nagar.
Under a massive new heritage project, the changes are rolling out fast. Islampura has officially reverted to its original pre-1947 name of Krishan Nagar.
They do haldi ceremonies in their marriage.
That's I found hilarious.
If you look at richer elite Pakistanis, none of them wear
They're
Arab
doing
clothes.
varmalas
They wear
also.
Indian clothes. Cricketers do varmala in weddings. How the hell is that Islamic?
It's for the optics and it's for the gram, yo. It's for the gram. If it looks cool and it looks
They'll do
pretty.
ring finding ceremonies like this.
Oh my god. Oh my god, this I had not seen.
So on the one side, they say this.
Well, our forefathers, they thought that we are different from the Hindus in every possible aspect of life.
And on the other
Then
side,
stay
they
different,
celebrate
no?
Holi in their universities.
These are holy celebrations in Pakistan. Some university students held the biggest holy event at the Quaid-e-Azam University.
They do know that
in
Holi is a Hindu
Islamabad this
festival,
month.
right? All of this.
They'll celebrate Basant Panchami.
कुछ रिपोर्ट्स के मुताबिक सिर्फ 3 दिन के बसंत फेस्टिवल की वजह से पूरे लाहौर शहर में 4 से 6 बिलियन रुपीस की इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी जनरेट हुई है।
Such an identity crisis.
They claim Mohenjo-daro and Harappa as their own.
हड़प्पा के सबसे बड़े शहर आज के टाइम पर पाकिस्तान में ही हैं, जैसे कि मोहनजोदड़ो,
आपको जमीन मिल गई थी।
हड़प्पा, चन्नूदड़ो,
That's all.
गनवेरी वाला और कोट जीजी, ये सारे के सारे जो हड़प्पन साइट्स हैं ये पाकिस्तान में मौजूद हैं। दोस्तों, पाकिस्तान में कई ऐसी ऐतिहासिक और नॉन इस्लामिक जगहें हैं जिन पर बहुत ध्यान नहीं दिया जाता, लेकिन हड़प्पा को लेकर पाकिस्तान को एक खास लगाव है। आज मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि हड़प्पा सभ्यता को पाकिस्तान में किस तरह से पढ़ाया जाता है या देखा जाता है, कैसे पाकिस्तान हड़प्पा के टाइम को विभाजन का आधार बना देता है, और क्यों जिस देश में मोहम्मद बिन कासिम को पहला पाकिस्तानी माना जाता है।
What the hell is going on? Well, this schizophrenic behavior basically stems from a deep-rooted identity crisis that has plagued Pakistan since its very inception. And their current attempts to appropriate Hindu traditions, Hindu civilization, Hindu culture, while at the same time attacking and berating the same Hindu culture and civilization is part of this identity crisis. It's part of this psychosis. And you'd be surprised that it's actually much more insidious than it seems.
Okay, pause. Like I have gotten comments in the past when in my videos at some point, you know, I was looking at a song and talking about it, and I called a musical instrument like Hindustani instrument, Indian instruments. I love the Indian, like, you know, and then people have come, Pakistani people have come and commented there saying, it's not Indian, it's Hindustani. And I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing. No, it's not the same thing. Like, I don't know why they have this allergy to the word India. I get that you don't like India. I don't know for what reason. We donated land to you so you could make a country of your own, and you still have some long lost freaking enmity and cannot simply admit to truth and facts. Why are they so allergic to truth? You're sitting on Indian land. Your country is living on Indian property, which has been given to you. So everything about the culture and heritage, or whatever archaeological finds and historical monuments and places and everything is Indian. Just relax. Just relax. You can be Pakistani about things after 1947. If you've invented anything new, you can call it Pakistani. We don't care. Don't try to like, and yeah, he's right. He's right. Their dictator, Mr. Field Marshal, is constantly talking about anti-Hindu things and giving speeches that are anti-Hindu. Nobody will call him out, of course, because if they do, they'll get kidnapped and their families will get murdered. But irrespective, the leader of that country, for all purposes, the leader of that country is constantly trying to berate Hindus and talk about how evil they are. and then they're appropriating all the Hindu customs and traditions. It's ridiculous. Like I saw, this holy thing just shocked me when I saw it. And the Basant Panchami happened thing this year. And I was just like, what are they doing? What are they doing? Yeah, we know our festivals and traditions and dances and rituals. Everything is super cool, super colorful, super full of joy, super full of like tradition and devotion. And it comes from the heart. Like we love doing that for our gods and goddesses. And we love celebrating these events as communities and, people with a shared bond over it. Actually, it all just comes down to devotion and bhakti. It all comes down to the love we feel for our gods. So you want to try and steal that because it's so cool and it's so this thing, and you feel FOMO and you feel left out. Like, I'm sorry, but then just call it a Hindu custom. Don't try to appropriate it and call it Pakistani. That's what's irritating about it. So Sheema ji was doing that. She was trying to say it's, spiritual things and whatever. No, it's not spiritual. It's Sanatani. Okay. The dance form that you practice is Sanatani. It is literally in devotion to a particular deity. And if you don't acknowledge that fact, then you are dishonoring the very art form that you represent. So anyway, coming back, 1, 2, 3, play. In fact, we'll watch that video after this
today's episode. I am the CEO of Secularism, Sham Sharma, and it's great to be with you. And to all of you, a secular Now look, we all go through phases, right? There was a time when I thought that having a soul patch like Robert Pires would make me look like Robert Pires. It didn't. Most people were just horrified and thought I had a leech on my chin. Pakistan is also going through a phase, but they've been going through this phase for arguably since they were created. See, Pakistan's national identity has rested since 1947 on a single foundational premise, that the Muslims of the Indian subcontinent are not merely a religious minority, but also an entirely distinct civilization, one with no shared heritage whatsoever with Hindu India. This is based on the two-nation theory, which was articulated by Jinnah, but intellectually shaped by people like Syed Ahmad Khan and Allama Iqbal, which makes a claim that Hindus and Muslims of the subcontinent were so fundamentally different in religion, customs, literary traditions, social structures, and historical memory that they simply could never coexist under a single political framework. Jinnah declared in 1940 that it is a dream that Hindus and Muslims can ever evolve a common nationality. Now, Pakistani historians like Aisha Jalal will make the point that this was simply a political bargaining position. But in 2015, Venkat Dhulipala wrote a landmark book called Creating a New Medina, State Power, Islam and the Quest for Pakistan in the Late Colonial North India. Now, this exhaustive book decisively overturns this bargaining counter-interpretation. Dhulipala demonstrates that Pakistan was popularly imagined in Uttar Pradesh as a sovereign Islamic state, a new Medina, not as a slogan or a hasty political maneuver. It was envisioned as something far more totalizing, an Islamic utopia that would be the harbinger for renewal and rise of Islam in the modern world and act as the powerful new leader and protector of the entire Islamic world, and thus emerge as a worthy successor to the defunct Turkish Caliphate. What's ironic is that initially, at least, they seem to understand that without their connection to Indian history, culture, religion, and civilization, Pakistan is basically as empty as Punjab Kings XI's trophy cabinet. For the first 2.5 decades after partition, Pakistani school books, however imperfect, retained some acknowledgement of pre-Islamic civilization. History textbooks from 1947 to 1980 talked about the Indus Valley civilization, various empires and kingdoms that existed in what used to be Pakistan, but that changed abruptly and decisively after 1971, and I wonder what happened in 1971.
And suddenly, we all feel desperately sorry for the once blustering general. At this moment, I think most of us would have given almost anything to see Yahya Khan in General Niaz's place.
Well, East Pakistan seceded to become Bangladesh after a liberation war in which the Indian army did to Pakistan what Dhurandhar did to the YRF spy universe. And think about the humiliation here. Beyond the 93,000 Pakistani soldiers that surrendered before India, the army of a Hindu country led by a Parsi man, Sam Manekshaw, whose civilization had been annihilated by the Islamic invasion and whose ancestors rulers sought and received refuge in India. Centuries later, their descendant led India to one of its most famous military victories. This war also included people like J.F.R. Jacob, who helped design and push the rapid War of Movement plan that bypassed strongholds in 1971 and aimed straight at Dhaka, enabling a swift collapse of the Pakistani forces in East Pakistan. So they not only lost the war, 93,000 of their soldiers not only had to surrender in front of the Indian army, but they get humiliated by a team-up of Hindus, Parsis and Jews. That's got to be like bloody Hiroshima and Nagasaki for you as an Islamist society. I mean, that is rock bottom. It's like if you were Salman Khan, imagine that Lawrence Bishnoi, after threatening you for so many years, doesn't just not get arrested in India, but also becomes a bigger movie star than you. So the secession that happened and the Pakistani forces who committed mass atrocities, not just against Bengali Hindus, but also Bengali Muslims. As a result of this, the ideological premise of the two-nation theory that religious identity alone could bind a nation was completely shattered in front of the whole world. Pakistan's entire raison d'etre had cracked. So Pakistan had to make a decision. Well, you reflect on what went wrong, or you triple down on a bad decision. You deal with your humiliation, or you bury it and act like it never happened. And if you know anything about Pakistan, you know Pakistan always chooses the worst possible decision. We've seen that Pakistan has never issued a formal apology to Bangladesh for the atrocities of 1971. This is an ideological necessity. To acknowledge the genocide and apologize publicly is to concede that the two-nation theory is dead. So, after 1971, under Zia-ul-Haq, Pakistan tripled down on its delusion.
Was psycho,
History as a
man.
school subject, which sometimes included narratives of Ram, Buddha, Ashoka, Kanishka, the Mughals and the Marathas, was abolished and replaced with Pakistan studies, a subject designed with the explicit purpose of instilling a Pakistani identity completely divorced from the Indian subcontinent and its Hindu civilization. Pakistani history now did not begin with the Indus Valley civilization. It begins in 712 CE when Arab commander Muhammad bin Qasim conquered Sindh. This was a deliberate severing of a people from 4,000 years of their own continuous history. The elevation of Muhammad bin Qasim to the status of the first Pakistani, which was officially enshrined in the Federal Bureau of Pakistan's 50 Years of Pakistan in 1998, is perhaps the most revealing symptom of Pakistan's identity neurosis. Qasim was an Arab commander sent by the Umayyad Caliphate of Damascus to extract trade revenues and expand Islam into the port communities of Sindh. He had no conception of Pakistan, India, or any modern nation state. He killed the famous Hindu king Dahir of Sindh, plundered Sindh's wealth, and sent it all back to Arabia. Within 20 years of Qasim's departure, according to historical records, a majority of those who had converted to Islam during his stay had reverted back to Hinduism or Buddhism. So calling Muhammad bin Qasim the first Pakistani is like calling Osama bin Laden the first American or Hitler the first Frenchman. But if you know anything about Pakistan, you know that stupidity has never really been a deterrent for that country. I mean, this is the country that damn near lynched a guy because he was holding a Mountain Dew bottle and the bottle had a QR code that vaguely looked like it had the name of Prophet Muhammad written on it. This is who we are dealing with. So under Zia-ul-Haq, Islamization became a comprehensive state policy with the late 1970s onwards. Islamic studies and Arabic were made compulsory. They imposed Urdu, a language of the Uttar Pradesh North Muslim elite, on a country that spoke Punjabi, Sindhi and Pashto. So the humiliation suffered at the hands.
This cracks me up because every time, like, someone was commenting about like Urdu is a Pakistani language. I'm like, excuse me, are you dumb? I mean, it's not even a rhetoric. I don't even want an answer to that. But this language ownership that they suddenly have is just so ridiculous to me. Okay, play.
Humiliation suffered at the hands of India was one factor. The death of the two-nation theory was one factor. Another factor in turning Pakistan into a real-world idiocracy was Arab countries and the American CIA. The post-1971 crisis of Pakistani identity found its most powerful funder in the petrodollar-rich Arab monarchies. This was a time when Arab countries were newly rich off of selling oil to the world and had designs of becoming superpowers themselves. The easiest way to do so was to build a strong presence in other Muslim countries, develop a sense of Islamic nationalism in these countries, and have them act as outposts or arms of these Arab nations. The Americans also played a part for their own selfish gains. As the CIA, Saudi, ISI apparatus funneled money through madrasas to fight the Soviets in Afghanistan, a foreign religious ideology was inculcated into Pakistani society. Arabic cultural hegemony came as a prerequisite and a condition of the petrodollar. Pakistani women were pressured to adopt Gulf Arab dress styles. Pakistani mosques imported Salafi architecture and Wahhabi ideology, and Pakistani families claimed Sayyid lineage, as in the Prophet's lineage, Bukhari lineage, lineage, as in Central Asian lineage, or Shirazi lineage, as in Persian lineage, to distinguish themselves from their Hindu ancestral lineage. Now that's great, but if you ask them how people with the last names like Sheema, Chaudhary, and Sandhu have Arab ancestry, well, they'll give you the same look that you will get if you read Shakespeare to a donkey. In fact, a great dissection of this neurosis of the Pakistanis was done by V.S. Naipaul in his books Among the Believers and Beyond Belief. Naipaul observed that conversion to Islam in non-Arab countries entails a form of psychological self-destruction. A convert's worldview alters. His holy places are in Arab lands, not in his own country. His sacred language is Arabic, not his own language. His idea of history alters. He rejects his own. He becomes, whether he likes it or not, a part of the Arab story, not his own story. The convert has to turn away from everything that is his. The disturbance for societies is immense, and even after 1,000 years can remain unresolved. The turning away has to be done again and again on a daily basis. People develop fantasies about who and what they are, and in the Islam of the converted countries, there is an element of neurosis and nihilism. There's another important reason why the Pakistani Muslims refuse to accept their Hindu heritage. This is something that's baked into Islam as well as all Abrahamic theologies. In fact, both Abrahamic religions like Islam and Christianity do this. While Christianity was in opposition to indigenous Roman and Greek religions, it hated indigenous Roman and Greek culture and religion with a burning passion. Every aspect of indigenous Roman and Greek culture and religion was blasphemous and heretical. However, once Roman kings converted to Christianity and Christianity was able to vanquish indigenous Greek and Roman religions, a few centuries later, they gleefully appropriated all the positive aspects of these cultures. Suddenly, hated pagans like Plato, Aristotle, works like the Odyssey, and great pagan heroes and generals of Greece and Rome were happily adopted by Christian countries. Today, Christian Europeans and Americans are walking around cosplaying as the true inheritors of ancient Greek and Roman traditions. They celebrate these traditions today when just a few centuries ago, their ancestors blasted these traditions as blasphemous and worked tirelessly to destroy these cultures and traditions root and branch. It is because when these traditions and cultures were actually alive, they were an active threat to the totalitarian and exclusivist worldview of Christianity. Abrahamic religions believe that their worldview is the only correct one, and any other way of thinking is blasphemous and deserves to be destroyed. When these cultures were destroyed and Christianity became the only game in town, Europe naturally descended into the bleak period of the Dark Ages. A few centuries later, the same Greek and Roman cultural traditions and literature were rediscovered by Europeans, and then they realized that it was, actually okay to ask questions. They realized it was okay to pursue scientific answers to unknown questions. These traditions taught them that it is okay to speak their minds. Freedom of speech is actually a good thing, and to gain knowledge that was once considered forbidden. These pre-Christian, pagan, Roman, and Greek ideas became so popular in Europe that it threatened to overtake Christianity once again after many centuries. However, because the people who practiced these traditions were long gone, Christianity was able to scavenge these traditions and appropriate all positive aspects of these traditions as somehow inherently Christian, thus staving off any danger Christianity would have from these traditions. Now, ancient Roman and Greek culture could be safely relegated to history and museums, and Christianity, which was once the mortal enemy of these glorious traditions, can now pretend to be the proud inheritor of this tradition. This is the greatest scam pulled in the history of Europe and America. And this is why Pakistani Islam has such a problem accepting its links to Indian civilization. Because Pakistani Islam sees Hinduism as a very clear and present danger to their exclusivist ideology. Atish Taseer, a half-Indian, half-Pakistani author, wrote a memoir called Stranger to History, in which he quoted a Pakistani saying that if all of India had become Muslim, we might have been able to identify with the Hindu past. But the religious structures will not allow them to do so, and unless the living tradition of Hinduism and the living Hindu civilization is completely destroyed, just like Christianity destroyed the ancient Greek and Roman cultures, they cannot accept any part of their indigenous native traditions. Bless their hearts, the Pakistanis have tried their damnedest to wipe out Indian civilization. But, as we've shown, it hasn't really gone well for them. In 1971, they got spanked worse than anything that you'll see on Pornhub. The same thing happened in 1999. And then they tried to be cute again with the Pahalgam attack, but India put more holes in their bases than a golf course.
2 weeks after the Pahalgam attack, India has responded with force, precision, and purpose.
They tried to be cute.
And so Pakistan is in a very tricky position right now. They can't destroy the Indians and they can't appropriate their culture, so they have to find their culture somewhere else. They spent the past 50 years telling people that they were actually Arabs. But Saudi Arabia is currently going through a Vision 2030 makeover. They need to open up their economies and reform their societies in order to develop economically. So interested in promoting, in spreading Wahhabi ideology in Saudi Arabia and across the world anymore. On top of that, the Arab world classifies Pakistani Muslims as Ajam, a non-Arab, a designation that historically historically carried social inferiority. No Arab, Turk or Persian recognizes a Pakistani's claim of Arab lineage as legitimate. This was a one-way transaction.
Nobody in the Arab world
gave cultural subordination and received no actual acceptance in return. The same thing has happened with Turkey. Once Saudi Arabia was done with Pakistan, Pakistan turned towards Saudi Arabia. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan's promotion of Ertugrul, a Turkish historical drama, is a case study in this shift. Suddenly every Pakistani household was pretending that they were Turkish. But Turkey too was not interested in this brotherhood with Pakistan. In fact, Turkish citizens started taking to social media to ask why Pakistani men are so obsessed with them, often using the hashtag #GetOutPakistani. On top of all that, the identity fantasy of Arab, Persian and Turkish ancestry is demolished by population genetics. Genetic research consistently shows that the overwhelming majority of Indian subcontinental Muslims, including Pakistanis, carry indigenous subcontinental ancestry. Population geneticist Razib Khan, summarizing the available evidence, has stated that 99% of the ancestry of the Muslims of the Indian subcontinent is indigenous, meaning the vast majority of Pakistani Muslims are, genetically speaking, descendants of people who were once Hindus or Buddhists or Jains.
It's so sad how bad a crisis they're having.
Native indigenous culture. The other cultures that they were trying to be part of will not accept them and they consider them inferior. So what does Pakistan do? Well, a few years ago, Babar Azam gave the English language the immortal term goosebumps.
People screaming your name, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, that goosebump.
Similarly, Pakistani historians have gifted us another masterpiece, Ancient Pakistan. Man, there are people watching this video whose grandparents are older than Pakistan. So according to this new theory, Pakistan possesses a 9,000-year-old historical heritage.
Oh my God.
Okay, so explain this to me. How can Pakistan claim ownership of the Indus Valley civilization when Pakistan as a country denies everything before the rise of Islam? Islamabad officially links the creation of Pakistan to the arrival of an Arab commander 1300 years ago. So according to Pakistan's logic, the country is simultaneously 1500 years old, Arab by ancestry, Turkish by fantasy, and was created in 1947 as a new distinct civilization. I mean, people with violent schizophrenia will read this and tell Pakistan to bring it down a notch. Meanwhile, the living Hindu population in Pakistan continues to face harassment, forced conversions, temple vandalism, and systemic discrimination.
1% maybe population of Hindus now compared to 1947.
Anything original of their own.
And then they lecture us on minority.
भारत की गायकी पाकिस्तान की एक ही गायकी है, वो यहीं से गए सारे, उनकी अपनी कोई गायकी नहीं है.
This observation applies to pretty much everything. Their history, their culture, their language, their social customs. It's like a tiger desperately trying to convince itself that it's actually a trout. And so because they're stuck in this precarious situation, they've decided to just be openly shameless about it. While they claim that they're Arabs or Persians, they're openly celebrating Basant Panchami, which is a Hindu festival. It is rooted in the worship of goddess Saraswati. But they claim that their Basant is completely different from the Basant that's celebrated by the Hindus. It's like they're basically showing you a German Shepherd and telling you that it's not really a dog, it's actually a glog, a completely different species. Even UNESCO documentation references Basant as a traditional spring festival originating in India, historically linked to Hindu traditions. Haldi is another such example. Aarti is another such example.
They're doing aartis also in their weddings.
I've shown you how they've been celebrating Holi, and who knows, in a few years they might actually start celebrating Diwali too. And India in 2025
they'll start celebrating Navratri.
During Operation
They already love Garba and Dandiya. My God, I actually feel sorry for them now. Actually, no, I don't.
So their famous attempt to create a new civilization, create a new Medina, create a new Islamic caliphate, completely distinct from their Hindu roots, has utterly and completely failed. And it's too bad that marrying your first cousin, exploding in markets, having terrorism as your top export, watching ungodly amounts of gay porn and honor killings do not a successful civilization make. And obviously because of all the terrorism, they have a horrible image globally, and they're having to brand themselves as Indians in order to even have their businesses succeed overseas. Many restaurants in the West will brand themselves as Indian restaurants.
I've seen this in London.
Would much rather go to an Indian restaurant than a Pakistani restaurant. And here is where the insidious term called South Asia comes in. This word has one very specific purpose.
Hate this word.
Something positive globally, suddenly everybody remembers. Suddenly it's South Asian.
Hate
if India
this word.
Move, it's a proud moment for South Asia. An Indian origin CEO becomes head of a billion-dollar company. Well, South Asians are ruling the world. An Indian wins the World Chess Championship. It's a South Asian achievement. A Hollywood celebrity
People need to stop using that term, man.
That's
I
South
hate
Asian
it.
attire. But the second there's something negative, it is attributed only and only to India and not to Pakistan at all, not to South Asia at all. The moment there's some negative publicity around India, the term South Asia disappears like Pakistan's Chinese air defense systems. They do this with caste. They're doing this currently with the H-1B crisis. So lassi is a South Asian drink, paratha is a South Asian bread, but caste is an Indian problem, not a South Asian
God,
problem.
the
And so
amount
this
of
is the new
caste
attempt by the
issues that
failed state of
Pakistan has.
Pakistan to ride on the coattails of India
Slavery.
and gain
They
some
have
semblance
slaves.
of positive PR in the world. And the Pakistanis are in a precarious situation because they failed
Oh my
demographically. Pakistanis are not Arabs. They're overwhelmingly Indian by ancestry. They failed culturally. Pakistani music, cuisine, poetry, architecture are all Indian. They failed politically. The creation of Bangladesh in 1971 demonstrated that Islam alone cannot bind a nation divided by language, ethnicity, and economic exploitation. It failed internationally. Arab and Turkish societies do not recognize Pakistanis as co-civilizational kin, but regard them as aspirational outsiders. And this is why you see all these videos and all these posts of Pakistanis desperately attempting to appropriate Indian traditions, Indian culture, and Indian religious practices, while divorcing it from Indian civilization and Hindu culture. And that
It's
is why
so
my plea to
sad.
you is,
So
wherever
sad.
you see it, push
I
back.
do.
There are a lot
I
more
do
Indians
push
out
back.
there than Pakistanis. Don't let them get away with it. Whenever you see it, flood their comments, make videos, make posts debunking these claims. Only after this civilization has completely and utterly failed, which it is very close to, will they have to look in the mirror and have a reckoning about who they really are. Other than that, let me know what you thought about today's episode. If you want to
Loved
see our
it.
other videos, you can click here and see them as well.
Secular
I will see you
pranam.
for the next episode, and until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and to all of you,
Secular pranam.
a secular pranam.
Okay. It's just shocking to me. It's just shocking to me the amount of stupidity that is out there in the world. And I have been calling this term South Asian out everywhere I possibly can. Everywhere, every time. I am not South Asian. And for all the Goras and the Western audience, whoever might be here, please stop using that term. It's problematic, okay? We do not want to be clubbed together like some species of animals. We are not, okay? We are Indian. That's it. And you want to call the Pakistanis Pakistanis, you want to call them something else, that's your problem. We are Indian, we are not South Asian, okay? I freaking hate that term. Everyone needs to stop using it. Stat. That's one. And yeah, and I've seen so many businesses given Indian names and they're actually Pakistani owned. Whether it's in the US, in the UK, wherever I've lived, it's just sad. They pretend to be Indian, and I've seen it in my own lived experience. I've seen it, and I freaking hate it. And it, like, recently before I moved back from London, it happened just down the street from where I lived. I was like craving some Indian food, and I found a place on Google Maps. I go there. It had some Bombay something name. And I go in, and the owners were very clearly Pakistani, and they were just not happy that I was there. Like, I don't know what it was, but as soon as I entered that place and the way they were looking at me, and they could obviously tell that I'm Indian, and just talking to me, and the entire energy was so like borderline aggressive and negative. I just couldn't. And I placed my order, I paid, and then I said, I'm not sitting here, I'll do a takeaway. And I went outside and waited outside, although he was like, you can wait here at the table. I was like, no, I'll just stand outside. Anyway, that's just an example of what he was saying, that they'll name their business and their shops and their restaurants Indian names, and they'll be, I mean, if you're Pakistani and you're proud of being a Pakistani, freaking own that shit and name your restaurant according to your country, man. Stop trying to steal and pretend you're Indian. And so many people, in fact, actually, I just remember when I was in school in Muscat, this is way back in the day, we went to the American school to play a basketball tournament with them, and we were meeting some of the students there. And there were Pakistani students who introduced themselves as Indian to us. And we got to know later that they're Pakistani. Not that we care, we were kids, we didn't really give a shit, but we were just like, why did they lie? But it was happening even back then. And it's just ridiculous. So anyway, everything that he has researched and talked about in this, I wasn't aware of a lot of it, like this whole textbook rewriting and this whole, and every time I'm just like, why are you trying to suck up to the Arabs? The Arabs don't think you are one of them. Okay, you are not one of them. You are literally, your ancestors converted. They were all Hindus, they all converted, either at the tip of a sword or whatever other reasons they may have had to enjoy other benefits in society. Whatever it was, all your ancestry is Indian, all your culture, all your languages, all your history, everything is Indian. Just be real, man. At least, like, there'll be more respect for you if you're real about your roots, instead of pretending that it's something it's not. and then appropriating it, and then coming up with random excuses. You're flying kites, you're celebrating Basant Panchami the way we celebrate it, you know, as a bhakti thing to our gods. And then you're saying, nahi, ye to different flavor hai Basant Panchami ka. Just shut it. Just shut it. You're not fooling anyone. You're not fooling anyone. And now, you know, and this whole aarti, who taught you to do an aarti at your weddings? That's not your culture, is it? Oh, and playing Holi. Holi is literally a Hindu festival. Like, Holika Dahan. Like, go and research. It's just shocking to me. And is it just Gen Z or like who, you know, the new kids, and I don't know. I haven't been there. I don't know. But you guys have to stop pretending that you like it's part of your culture. It's not. Just say that the Indians are cool, their culture is cool, the Hindu traditions are super cool, they look so much fun, we're having FOMO and we want to partake and we want to do it also, and we want to dress up like them also, we want to you know, dance like them also, and we want to throw color on each other like them, we want to fly kites like them. Just accept it, and then we'll be like, yeah bro, welcome to the party, enjoy yourself. Like this, the way it's being done and the way the explanations of it happen, it's just so hilarious. It's pathetic. Ooh, and now I know I'm going to get attacked under this video, but I don't care. I don't care. The pushback needs to happen. And all of this has been happening so much of late that I was, you know, when I used to cover Pakistani music, and I got this comment under one of the videos when I called, you know, the instrument, like our Indian instruments and all of that. You can't call it an Indian. When that whole exchange happened between me and a viewer, it was years ago, way before Pahalgam and all that, and before I stopped covering the music. I was shocked. I was like, you know, because I was under the impression that sane Pakistanis exist who are very real about things, who know कि ये music कहाँ से आया है और ये किसका है heritage और ये कहाँ, you know. But then I was like in for a shock. That was the first time that I was surprised. I was like, what are you even saying? Do you know what you're saying? Do you know what you're saying? Like, that instrument is an Indian instrument. He had a problem with either it being called Indian and not Hindustani, except that Hindustani is Indian. Jo bhi hai, wo Sanatani music hai. It's classical music. It comes from Ma Saraswati. It comes from a whole, you know, a tradition of art that has been passed down from the gods. Anyway, just shocking to me. It's just shocking to me. Okay, I'm trying to find that video. We must watch it as part of this video because there's too much of this appropriation nonsense happening. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna watch it on 1.25. I was feeling bad when I saw that clip of her getting arrested and being manhandled by the police and all of that. But then I saw this video and I was just like, what? Okay, 1, 2, 3, play.
लोटा देखिए, एक असली लोटे में एक स्थिर पेंदी तो होती ही है, लेकिन हमारे समाज में और बॉर्डर के उस पार कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो बिन पेंदी के लोटे जैसे होते हैं, बस इसी तरह घूमते रहते हैं, कभी इधर तो कभी उधर, अपने फायदे के हिसाब से पलटी मारते रहते हैं। अब अगर आज आप इस बिन पेंदी के लोटे को सीमा किरमानी का नाम भी दे देंगे तो कुछ गलत नहीं होगा। पहले मैं आपको कुछ वीडियोस दिखाऊंगी, फिर हम और आप मिलकर इस चीप प्रोपेगेंडा को तार-तार
Her surname is also Hindu.
My study and my research has shown me that, you know, the dance form that I practice today, it's now called Odissi. Odissi with O-D-I-S-S-I, Odissi. And this, I mean, in India, they say, oh, it's from a state called Odisha.
Yes.
Okay. The way I approach it is that the stance or the postures that we have in this style are the closest to the dancing figurine of Mohenjo-daro. The 3 bends of the body, the placement of both the arms, one at the hip, one at the thigh. And I say that it's originated here, maybe in Mohenjo-daro itself.
So you're saying that
one of the oldest civilizations of the world.
So it could have originated here. It could have.
That's still an Indian civilization.
Carvings जो निकली, जो ruins से या जो temples में हैं, मोहनजोदारो के ruins से जो statuette निकले हैं, मुख्तलिफ styles को सीखें और practice करें, ताकि हम finally एक अपना identity, एक अपनी style evolve करें, जिसे हम पाकिस्तानी क्लासिकल।
नमस्कार, मैं हिमांशी, स्वागत है आप सभी का द पैम्फलेट में। दोस्तों, वीडियो में आगे बढ़ने से पहले मेरा आप सभी से एक निवेदन है कि आप हमारे चैनल द पैम्फलेट बांग्ला, द पैम्फलेट गुजराती और द पैम्फलेट ग्लोबल को भी जरूर सब्सक्राइब कर लें। खबर की ओर वापस बढ़ते हैं। सुनिए सीमा किरमानी जी, बंटवारे में जमीन मिलने से संस्कृति नहीं मिलती, संस्कृति सनातनी है। हमारे शास्त्रीय नृत्य कोई आम नाच गाना नहीं है, ये पूजा का प्रतीक है, ईश्वर की आराधना है। इसमें पाकिस्तानी कल्चर जैसा कुछ नहीं है। खैरात में सिर्फ आपको जमीन मिली थी, शास्त्रीय कलाओं का ज्ञान और उनकी आत्मा नहीं। जो लोग सीमा किरमानी को नहीं जानते, उन्हें मैं बता दूं कि ये पाकिस्तान की एक बहुत बड़ी मार्क्सवादी फेमिनिस्ट एक्टिविस्ट और क्लासिकल डांसर बनती हैं। लेकिन
And you know what shocks me the most is that in their religion, isn't it considered haram, music? I know for a fact that a lot of musicians there get threats and death threats even for making and promoting music. So all of that is considered bad, and then you want to try and claim them as your own. I mean, the hypocrisy of it all is just shocking to me. Okay, play.
इनका असली सच क्या है? ये वही सीमा किरमानी है जो भारत सरकार की ICCR यानी इंडियन काउंसिल फॉर कल्चरल रिलेशंस की स्कॉलरशिप पर भारत आई थी। यहाँ आकर इन्होंने लीला सैमसन से ओडिसी और भरतनाट्यम सीखा। वही लीला सैमसन जो प्रियंका गांधी की गुरु थी, और ये वही लीला सैमसन है जिन्होंने कला क्षेत्र फाउंडेशन में डायरेक्टर बन सनातन का अपमान किया था। गणपति जी की मूर्तियों जिसकी पूजा कला के छात्र नृत्य सीखने से पहले करते थे, उसे निकलवा दिया था। और आज उसी लीला सैमसन की छात्रा बिन पेंदी के लोटे की तरह गुड़क गई। ना उस कला का मान रखा, ना अपने कथित गुरुओं का सम्मान किया। खैर, पाकिस्तानियों से वैसे भी कोई उम्मीद होती नहीं है। हमें जो सीखना है वो ये कि हम उनके इस बुने हुए लेफ्ट मार्क्सवादी नैरेटिव में बिल्कुल ना उलझें। आज इनका पूरा झूठ बेपर्दा होगा। ये बिल्कुल उन्हीं कम्युनिस्टों की तरह हैं जो भारत में रहकर चीन और पाकिस्तान से प्रेम करते हैं, और ये मोहतरमा भारत से नृत्य सीखकर पाकिस्तान में अपने प्रोपेगेंडा पर गुड़कती रहती हैं। फर्क केवल इतना है कि ये माथे पर बिंदी लगाकर ये सब करती हैं। सीमा किरमानी का पूरा बेस एक मूर्ति पर टिका हुआ है, मोहनजोदारो की डांसिंग गर्ल यानी कांसा नृत्य की। ये और इनके लेफ्ट लिबरल आका बार बार रट लगाते हैं कि क्योंकि सिंधु घाटी सभ्यता की जमीन आज पाकिस्तान में है, इसलिए वहां का नृत्य उनका हो गया। What a ridiculous joke. Let's look at the math. 79 years versus 5000 years. अरे आपा, जो बंटवारे में जमीन मिली थी ना, वो नेहरू, गांधी, जिन्ना और अंग्रेजों की देन थी। मैं अपनी पूरी स्क्रिप्ट में बार बार यही कहूंगी कि खैरात में मिली हुई जमीन से वहां की संस्कृति तुम्हारी नहीं हो जाती। खैरात में मिली हुई जमीन की मूल संस्कृति को तो तुम वहां पूरी तरह खत्म कर चुके हो, हिंदुओं को मिटा चुके हो, और फिर उसी संस्कृति को पाकिस्तानी कल्चर का नाम देकर रिवाइव करना चाहते हो। और ये स्पिरिचुअलिटी क्या है? तुम्हें किसने ये राइट दिया कि स्पिरिचुअलिटी का नाम देकर इसे जनरलाइज करो, इसका इस्लामीकरण या सेक्युलराइजेशन करो? हमारे शास्त्रीय नृत्य सनातनी हैं और रहेंगे, फिर चाहे कितनी ही सीमा किरमानी आए या जाएं, इसे कोई रीब्रांड नहीं कर सकता। डांसिंग गर्ल के बारे में बात करने वाली आपा, थोड़ा न्यूज देख लिया करिए। या जब अभी पुलिस घसीटकर जेल लेकर जा रही थी तब सर पर चोट लग गई थी। आप जानते हैं, हमारे देश की कुछ सो कॉल्ड इंटेलेक्चुअल्स ही नहीं बल्कि कुछ राइट विंग के लोग भी इनके लिए बहाने बना रहे हैं, इनके बचाव में तर्क दे रहे हैं। कह रहे हैं कि अरे वो तो पाकिस्तान में रहती हैं, पुलिस ने अरेस्ट किया था, इसलिए शायद दबाव में आकर ऐसा बोल रही होंगी। ना जी ना, ये प्रोपेगेंडा नया नहीं है, बहुत पुराना है। साल 2025 की एक क्लिप अभी सोशल मीडिया पर वायरल है, जो हमने आपको शुरुआत में दिखाई थी। ये इनकी सोची समझी क्रोनोलॉजी है। इतिहास गवाह है कि मोहनजोदारो से केवल डांसिंग गर्ल नहीं मिली थी, वहां से पशुपति सील भी मिली थी। वो पशुपति कौन है? वो देवादिदेव महादेव भगवान शिव हैं, जो योगिक आसन में बैठे हैं। वहां से पुरुष और महिला की धरोहर मिली, जो सनातन के प्रकृति और पुरुष के मूल सिद्धांत को दर्शाती है। शिव की पूजा उस जमीन पर तब से हो रही है जब से ये सृष्टि बनी है। वहां से मिली हुई डांसिंग गर्ल कोई सेक्युलर या पाकिस्तानी डांसर नहीं है, वो भारतीय है। उसके हाथ में पहनी हुई चूड़ियां, उसकी मुद्रा, उसकी शारीरिक स्थिति आज भी भारत के जनजातीय और शास्त्रीय कलाओं में जीवित है। वो नई दिल्ली के नेशनल म्यूजियम में पूरी संप्रभुता के साथ सुरक्षित खड़ी है, क्योंकि भारत ही उसका असली घर है। मूर्ति मोहनजोदारो से मिली, पर कला का जन्म मंदिरों में हुआ था। पाकिस्तान के पास सिर्फ एक खाली बंटवारे में मिली जमीन चली गई, लेकिन उस जमीन की आत्मा, उसकी शक्ति, उसका अस्तित्व आज भी भारत के पास है। अब ओडिसी को पाकिस्तान का बताने का प्रोपेगेंडा रच रही हैं। अगर कोई सामान्य इंसान इंटरनेट पर एक छोटा सा सर्च भी करेगा तो उसे समझ आ जाएगा कि ओडिसी कोई सड़क पर होने वाला नाच गाना नहीं है जो किसी भी राजनीतिक सरहद के बदलने से बदल जाए। ओडिसी अपने आप में एक संपूर्ण ब्रह्मांड है। ये सनातन की एक ऐसी जीती जाती दुनिया है जिसकी हर सांस ईश्वर से जुड़ी है। ओडिसी का जन्म उड़ीसा के पवित्र मंदिरों में हुआ था। इस नृत्य के केंद्र में, इसकी आत्मा में कौन है? साक्षात भगवान जगन्नाथ। जगन्नाथ जी की अद्भुत लीला, उनका दिव्य प्रेम और उनके प्रति अनन्य भक्ति ही इस पूरे नृत्य की नींव है। इसी पर यह पूरी कला टिकी हुई है। ओडिसी का हर एक पोस्चर यानी मुद्रा, चाहे वो चौक हो या त्रिभंग, वो भगवान जगन्नाथ के विग्रह के जैसा दिखने के लिए ही बनाया गया है। सोनल मानसिंह जैसे महान कलाकारों ने अपनी जवानी से इस कला को सींचा है। गुरु केलुचरण महापात्र जैसे महान गुरुओं ने इस शास्त्रीय नृत्य को पुनर्जीवित करने के लिए अपना पूरा जीवन खपा दिया। ये मंदिर की कला है, ये गुरुओं और पंडितों की घोर साधना है भगवान जगन्नाथ का ये धाम और उनकी ये कला अक्षुण्ण है। इसे हाथ लगाने की जरूरत भी मत करना। आप इसमें से जगन्नाथ जी को, इसकी सनातनी आत्मा को अलग करके इसे एक सेक्युलर पाकिस्तानी टैग नहीं दे सकती। ग्रेटफुल होने की बजाय आप भारत की धरोहर पर डाका डाल रही हैं। यहाँ पर हमें एक और सबसे अहम मुद्दा उठाना है कि आईसीसीआर को अब आगे से विदेशी कलाकारों को लेकर कड़े नियम बनाने होंगे, उनकी कड़ी जांच करनी होगी। हमें भविष्य में उन्हीं लोगों को स्कॉलरशिप और अपनी कला का ज्ञान देना चाहिए जो इस शास्त्रीय कला को विशुद्ध भारतीय दृष्टिकोण से देखे, किसी वेस्टर्न या पश्चिमी चश्मे से नहीं, और इस मार्क्सवादी प्रोपेगेंडा के चश्मे से तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं। जो लोग यहाँ से सीख कर जा रहे हैं, ये उनका फर्ज है कि वो इसे भारत के नजरिए से देखें, इसके प्रति नतमस्तक रहें, ना कि इसका इस्तेमाल भारत के ही खिलाफ प्रोपेगेंडा की दुकान चलाने के लिए करें। ऐसे कृतज्ञ लोगों को भारत बुलाना और अपनी पावन संस्कृति सिखाना अब पूरी तरह बंद होना चाहिए, जो कल को उठकर हमारी धरोहर को चुराने लगते हैं। हमें ये क्रोनोलॉजी समझनी होगी कि आखिर ये प्रोपेगेंडा बार बार चलाया क्यों जाता है। ये बिल्कुल वैसा ही है जैसे अमेरिका में बैठी ऑन्ड्रे ट्रुशके जैसी वामपंथी स्कॉलर्स करती हैं। ये सीमा किरमानी भी नैरेटिव के मामले में उन्हीं की सगी बहन है। इनका एजेंडा क्या है? सनातन संस्कृति के गौरव को पूरी तरह से सेक्युलर बना देना, शास्त्रीय कलाओं को उनके भगवानों से, उनके मूल से अलग कर देना ताकि उनकी आध्यात्मिक अहमियत को खत्म किया जा सके। पाकिस्तान के कट्टरपंथी इस्लामिक स्टैब्लिशमेंट और वहां के मार्क्सवादियों में वैसे तो 36 का आंकड़ा है, लेकिन जब बात भारत के विरोध की आती है तो दोनों का स्टैंड एक हो जाता है। कट्टरपंथी चाहता है कि उनका कोई हिंदू इतिहास न दिखे और मार्क्सवादी चाहता है कि अगर इतिहास की कोई सुंदर चीज दुनिया को दिखानी ही है तो उस पर से भगवान का नाम मिटाकर उसे सेक्युलर और पाकिस्तानी बता दो। किरमानी जी एक बिंदी लगा लेती हैं, साड़ी पहन लेती हैं और खुद को बहुत मॉडर्न और प्रोग्रेसिव दिखाती हैं, लेकिन उनके और वहां के कट्टरपंथियों की सोच में फर्क क्या रह गया? फर्क सिर्फ एक बिंदी का है, मकसद दोनों का एक ही है, भारत के गौरवशाली इतिहास को विकृत करना। उधर पाकिस्तान में जो गरीब हिंदू प्रताड़ित हैं, जिसके लिए हर एक दिन अपने प्राण और धर्म को बचाने की लड़ाई है, उनकी इस पावन धरोहर को ये लोग अपने आलिशान एयर कंडीशन कमरों में बैठकर एब्यूज करते हैं। उन प्रताड़ित हिंदुओं के लिए ये संस्कृति उनका अस्तित्व बचाने का एकमात्र जरिया है और आप उसे अपनी राजनीतिक नैरेटिव की बफरिंग के लिए चुरा रही हैं। और एक बात बताओ, आपको इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन से जुड़ना क्यों है? आप लोग, आपकी सरकार, मौलवी सब तो यही करते हैं ना कि आपकी जड़ें ईरान से हैं, वेस्ट एशिया से हैं। आपको अपनी जड़ों पर विश्वास नहीं है? कोई कंफ्यूजन है क्या? खैर, हम भारतीयों को इनके इस घटिया और जहरीले प्रोपेगेंडा में उलझने की या इसमें बहने की रत्ती भर भी जरूरत नहीं है। जो सांस्कृतिक खजाना, जो विरासत हमारे पास है, वो दुनिया के किसी भी देश के पास नहीं है। कथक हो या ओडिसी, इन्हें हमारे पंडितों, गुरुओं और साधकों ने मुगलों के बर्बर आक्रमणों और हर तरह के अत्याचारों को सहकर भी अपने रक्त से जिंदा रखा है। और बॉर्डर के उस पार और इस पार बैठे हुए जितने भी कट्टरपंथी प्रोपेगेंडा मशीनें हैं, उन्हें आज द पैम्फलेट के मंच से एक बात बिल्कुल साफ साफ बता दूं, अगर तुम लोगों को टकराव चाहिए ना तो सुन लो, अब ये टकराव होकर रहेगा। और इस बार इस वैचारिक युद्ध को, इस नैरेटिव की लड़ाई को हम भारतीय इसके अंतिम अंजाम तक, इसके आखिरी निष्कर्ष तक लेकर जाएंगे। अब हम रत्ती भर भी पीछे नहीं हटने वाले। तुम्हारी हर एक चाल, हर एक साजिश और हर एक झूठ का पूरा हिसाब यहीं इसी कैमरे के सामने डंके की चोट पर होगा। हमारा डिफेंस सिस्टम, हमारी पहचान और हमारा ओरिजिन बिल्कुल साफ है, बिल्कुल सटीक है और वो सनातन है। उसकी अमर नींव को हिलाने की औकात तुम्हारे 79 ईयर्स के इस कागजी मुल्क में कभी नहीं थी और ना कभी होगी। अगली बार जब कोई बिन पेंदी का लोटा भारत की शास्त्रीय कलाओं पर डकैती डालने की कोशिश करे तो उसे उसका असली अस्तित्व और उसकी औकात याद दिला दीजिएगा। द पैम्फलेट में आज के लिए इतना ही। जय जगन्नाथ।
जय जगन्नाथ। It's just shocking to me, you know, it's absolutely shocking to me how you can come to India, learn the art form, and then go back and try to say it's not from India. Like, I can't, it's just boggled my mind as to the shamelessness of this lady and what she was saying when I heard it. I was like, you have disrespected Ma Saraswati, which you probably don't care about, but you have disrespected the art form that you so proudly claim to represent. Odissi is from the temples of Odisha, hence the name. Okay, the dancing girl of the Indus Valley civilization is also from India. Okay, she's not Pakistani by any stretch of the imagination. So calm your and everything about you, Seema ji, everything about you screams Indian, whether it's your bindi or your saris or your dance forms that you practice. It screams Indian. You came to India and you learned those art forms. So, you know, stop trying to, you know, I think it's just her trying to be all like oh, look at me, I'm like, my art form originates from here and I'm going to give it my own spin and my own style and make probably my own gharana or something of it and be a pioneer and things like that. Maybe she has like random notions of this and random dreams like this, but like, you know, dreams of grandeur of on those lines, but ain't gonna happen. Things are what they are. They are centuries of tradition and you can't just hop onto them and claim ownership for some random reason. And honestly, how confused is this country? I'm sorry, but like, ab mere se raha nahi ja raha. I have to say it. Why are you all so confused? Even when I was covering your music and I was, you know, in touch with so many of your artists, I know that artists and musicians get threatened because it is considered haram. So, you know, एक तरफ तो आपका इतना strong religious identity है जिसके basis पे आपका country बना है, उसी identity से आता है इन सब चीजों को बैन करना और इन सब चीजों को बुरा कहना, including alcohol and other things. But you all partake in all of that. And then you all distance. And you know, it's just such a confused society. It's just such a confused society. I have to say it here. Okay, I'm going to end this video. This was a very important topic to talk about. And I'm glad that the Sham Sharma video was sent to me. You know who you are. Thank you for that DM. And please share your opinion in the comments here. It really, really, you know, is required that we talk about this stuff. And for all my fellow Indians who are watching this, push back, man, push back. And don't ever allow yourself to be called South Asian. Okay, you're Indian, be proud of it and introduce yourself as that and refuse to be clubbed into one random word by other people. I've refused it so many times. I've literally told people I'm not South Asian, I'm Indian. I would appreciate if you referred to me as that. That's it. That's it. So, okay, chalo, I'm going to end this here. Let me know what you thought of both these videos, your opinions in the comments. And please, please, I've set myself a target for this year. I want to hit 200K on the channel by the end of December, by the end of this year. So please help me get to that goal. 50% of you who watch have not subscribed. So just do it. It doesn't cost a thing and it really helps the channel out. So encourage me and my work by doing that. And I'll see you in the next one. Take very good care of yourselves. Live long and prosper, and Jai Hind.